Loud cars aren't faster, they just feel faster. And once you know why, you'll never judge speed by sound again. And today I'm going to try to explain to you guys in the simplest way possible why some of the loudest cars on the road actually accelerate a lot slower than quieter ones. If you've ever heard a loud car and you've heard it screaming towards you and then all of a sudden it goes past really slowly, that moment right there, that's what we're talking about in today's video. Because sound and speed aren't linked in the same way that some people think. You see, here's the main idea. Speed is about how hard a car pulls, and sound is about how much attention it makes. And these two things, they're not the same. But sometimes they do line up, but most of the time they don't. You see, our brain uses sound to guess how quickly a car is going. And that's why some race cars sound absolutely violent, and why manufacturers even add fake sounds to the car. You see, the noise of a car sets expectation. And with that rule of thumb, the acceleration has to meet it. You see, when you hear a loud car and then it doesn't meet your expectations of how fast it actually is, that's where the problem lies, because your brain is expecting to see something which the car didn't deliver. And this is where straight piped cars, which I've personally owned one in the past, confuse people. Because they hear the cold start, they hear it pulling off and it's extremely loud, but the noise doesn't justify how quickly the car is actually moving. It's very easy to make a 1 litre Fiesta have a full straight pipe exhaust. And I've personally heard ones, and trust me, they're slow, really slow. And as I mentioned, I've had my fair share of straight piped cars. This is one I used to own on screen now. And if you've ever owned one, you'll know that you start revving it more, you start holding out the revs longer, you downshift the gears sooner, all to maximize the feeling that that car is giving you. Because now in reality, it's probably a little bit slower than it once was. Because the truth is, if you're trying to work for that feeling of speed that the car gives you, it's probably not producing that power naturally anymore. We need to talk very quickly about intakes. And this is why intakes mess with people's heads once they've fitted one. And I'll give it to them. After you fitted an aftermarket one, you get more turbo noises, you feel like the car's going faster. And here's the fact that most people don't want to hear. And this is very true when it comes to BMW engines. An aftermarket air intake on the car, the majority of the time, doesn't give you any more measurable power. But what an aftermarket air intake does do once you fitted it to the car is it does deliver noise. And once you put your foot down and you hear that turbo kick in and the air intake is making all sorts of crazy noises, and then all of a sudden, the car doesn't go any faster, even though you thought it would, because you fitted a performance air intake. And that's not the car being slow. That's your expectations expecting more than the car can actually deliver. And BMWs, well, they're a perfect example of this. You see, most BMWs don't feel fast because the exhaust is screaming. They feel fast because of the torque. And torque plays a massive factor with the illusion of speed. And that shove in the RPM range from 2,500 to maybe 4,500, give or take, that's what makes the car feel fast. That's what makes it feel faster than a Honda Civic at 8,000 RPM, for example. Now we need to talk for a second about straight pipes. Yes, they're loud, and yes, they're very exciting. Take it from me, with personal experience running a straight pipe on a BMW. They're super addictive and fun to drive. But here is the real boring fact that we need to talk about. You see, on turbocharged cars like this M240i, for example, removing too much exhaust control can actually hurt low to mid-range flow. And this is why straight pipe cars can feel amazing at, say, 7,000 RPM, but feel a little bit dull actually getting there. Now, if you're like me and you've had your fair share of doing pulls with your mates and their cars, you more than likely have been doing a pull, and then all of a sudden some car creeps up on you completely silently. And those cars, which I've personally experienced being walked in this car with, are the diesel BMs. These things are monsters. A big 3 litre engine, same as this, but it's the torque that they have, and they're silent killers. You see, car culture, like Instagram and TikTok, they've confused people. They've convinced people to think that a loud car means it is ridiculously fast. And yes, most of the time that is true, because you do need a freer flowing exhaust system, but it definitely isn't a 100% fact. You see, a loud car doesn't always mean the car is fast. What makes a car fast are a few things. You've got grip, torque, how light the car is. All of these things play a massive factor in how fast the car is. And notice how I didn't mention noise when I mentioned those 3 things? That's because it's kind of irrelevant. It's a side effect. And this is why track cars, yes, they're fast, but they're not always stupidly loud. Yes, they can be, but track cars, they've got to be consistent. They've got to manage heat. They've got to have the same performance every lap. And if loud cars equaled how fast the car actually is, then race engineers would just make the cars as loud as possible, because that equals the power, right? And if you own a B58 like me, you probably would have seen an M140i or a B58 engine sounding like this in real life. And those noises you just heard, yes, they're awful, and they don't equal any performance in the slightest. Backfiring noises that rally cars make, performance cars, race cars, they're a naturally occurring sound because of the car, because it's making that power, because of how the engine works, the way it's tuned. Listen to this clip on screen now. This is exactly what I mean. This is an after effect of a fast car. Those clips you heard of those pop and bang maps on those M140i's doesn't equal the car being really fast. Now the real flex with having a loud car is being able to pull away on a louder one. If you've been following the channel, you'll know this M240i is loud, but it's not staying this way. Because the way the exhaust system is on this car right now isn't actually making the car at its fastest. We need a little bit of back pressure in the exhaust system to maintain that power reliably. So at some point we will be doing more exhaust modifications on the M240i to fix this. We've talked quite a bit about why sound from a loud car doesn't exactly equal speed that the car can get up to. I think in the car community, having a good tone to your exhaust is a lot better than having a really, really loud one. There are hundreds of car companies that have made incredibly good sounding engines. And these engines sound really, really good, even with a factory exhaust system. But when you customize that exhaust system, get it flowing in certain ways, adding resonators, the car can sound absolutely phenomenal. And that is what I want to go after with this B58 engine. I want to chase the best tone possible, not the loudest. And the crazy thing is, it will probably be faster with an exhaust system that is created in a way to perfect the tone rather than it being really loud. Louder cars, they're not always faster. Most of the time, they just trick your brain into thinking they are. And once you realise this, you definitely start looking at cars and the loudness of them in a completely different way. So the moral of the story, if loud cars made the car faster, then everybody would just straight pipe their cars. And hopefully that's not the case, because only some cars can sound good with a straight pipe. Oh, this is very uncomfortable. Well, there we go, we've talked about it. How loud is your car? Do you think loud cars are faster? The majority of the time they are, but in reality, they're not usually. And don't get me wrong, I like a loud car. Not the pop and bang stuff, I'm not a big fan of that. So let me know in the comments if you do run pop and bang tunes, and if you like them, or if you're like me and you'd much rather chase a pure exhaust tone, something that sounds good to the ears. But apart from that, we're going to wrap up today's video. If you guys did enjoy it, you can give it a thumbs up. You can also comment any comments you have down below and I'll answer them. And if you want to, you can subscribe. We're trying to reach 4,000 subscribers before 2026. So if you want to help out with that and see loads more content on my M240i, then hit the subscribe button. Apart from that, I'll catch you guys in the next video. Thank you very much for watching today. Bye for now.